analyze the Big Ten and the rest of college football. We tackle it all in the breakdown with Joshua Perry.
Every Monday, 8:30, we talk to our guy, NBC Sports analyst, legendary Buckeye, guy who knows Tyvis Powell on a neighborly level. He is Joshua Perry. Joshua, thanks for taking the time this morning. Buckeyes get it done out west. A lot of hype about Washington could slow this team down. Looked like a little bit in the first half, but then they kicked it into gear and became the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it was no problem in that second half.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me back. You know, it was one of the questions that I asked on my podcast I do with Nicole Auerbach called Rushing the Field. It was, imagine that Ohio State would lose to Washington. And it was setting up this idea basically that Ohio State was going to be tested. Their big test was Texas, and you kind of look back at that one even and say, okay, probably a good test for Ohio State's offense. For Ohio State's defense, not sure about that Texas test anymore, but they're going to get tested by Washington. And Washington had really good players, right? There were the quarterback, the running back, the wide receiver, all guys who could play at a place like Ohio State, very talented guys. And this is a defense that Ryan Walters ran. And part of his thing was he wants to get aggressive, but if he's not going to do that, he's going to make sure that he doesn't let you take the cap off of the defense. So I was impressed by the end of the day that they were able to really settle in, get some of the plays that they wanted, figure out a way to continue to sustain drives, ultimately score points. The start of the game was one of those where, you're a little bit restless. And Ohio State started slow. We've seen that over the last couple of years, but the turnover on special teams, unacceptable. And when you go for it on fourth downs, and especially when you're that close to the goal line, you got to figure out ways to execute and keep the chains going. Of course, they got better through the course of the game. You feel pretty good about this one. And, I'm somebody who respected Washington coming into this. I think this was a very good win for Ohio State to get. And so now you got to continue to build through the rest of the season off of this one.
Were you surprised at how well their Washington's defensive line looked against Ohio State's offensive line? Because earlier in that game, they seemed dominant, and then that just quickly went away once they got closer to the red zone.
Right. It's like yes and no. So Washington, when you looked at the stats and based off of who they played, you're like, if there is an advantage here, it would be the Ohio State offense. They should be able to move the football. But then you have to take into account, okay, these guys are probably going to be running on silent count because of how loud it is over there. And for me, Tyvis, you would know this, there's usually a visual indicator with the silent count. I actually did a breakdown on this on Saturday. We were preparing for Penn State and Oregon. But for me on defense, if you're running silent count, I love that because I can look at your visual indicator and I can tee off. I can jump the snap.
Yes.
Because I know once you bob your head as the center, you do the point, you tap whatever it is, the foot lift, I'm teeing off. Right? And so it puts the offensive line in a much tougher situation. So just based off of the factors of the game, it's not really shocking that early on Washington was able to create a little bit of an edge through their defensive line. It's just tough being an offensive line going into a loud environment.
Oh, Josh, I need to pass this message to you. Phil J in the chat said to tell you to get some real dress shoes because you be wearing them white and black Louis Vuitton shoes, and he said he don't think it matches the outfit real well.
What is wrong with people? That's a great look.
I had to pass this message
I like the look a lot, Joshua. Don't listen to him. I agree.
I mean, here's the other part about it. We can agree to disagree. I wouldn't say that it was the most continuous look that I've ever had in terms of wrapping the shoes in there. I would also say that throwing that out there is kind of that pop that's just a little bit different from whatever else is going on. I don't know. I like dress shoes. They're fine. I don't know if I'm ever doing that at work. It's a long day. I'm not putting dress shoes on when I'm in the office at noon, and I'm not walking out of the office until 11:30. It's just never a thing that I'm doing. So, the look, I get it, all good. I'm not throwing them dress shoes on.
I agree with you. I agree.
Joshua Perry joining us on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. So looking at the OSU offense, I mean, the numbers for Julian Sayin once again, 22 of 28, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, about as good as you could ask for a guy who's going on the road, kind of for his first big test on the road. He seemed to handle that well. Did you think, like a lot of Buckeye fans did, I certainly did, that first half yet again, there was a little bit of the Texas playbook there where we don't want to give him too much. We don't want to risk anything giving momentum to Washington. So let's kind of keep it safe. Let's have a bunch of tight ends out there. And then in the second half, they started to open it up a little bit more. Is that how you saw it, or am I off on that?
No, that's how I saw it. And Ryan Day pretty much said during the week, too, that, like, yeah, it's kind of the way that we're going to roll in there. And it's smart because that environment for your offensive line becomes tough. For a quarterback who's getting their first road start, that becomes very difficult. And, again, like, I'm giving some credit to Washington here, too. I think they made a decision that, like, we're not going to let these dudes just throw it over our head today. Like, we're not going to be the team where Jeremiah and Carnell and all of the talent that Ohio State has just gets to run wind sprints up and down the field because they're so wide open. And I respect teams that are like, we're going to make you throw it underneath, and we're going to make you sustain drives, and there's a higher likelihood that you're going to make a mistake doing that than you're going to make a mistake throwing it down the field with the highest graded quarterback in 20-plus yard passes in college football. So, like, things don't feel as easy sometimes, and, like, I know some fans get frustrated over it, but, like, there's also part of this where you have to acknowledge that there's another team on the other side playing strategy that's trying to win, and they try to make it very hard for you to win.
Josh, when you look at Happy Valley, right, who do you put the blame? They was obviously chanting fire Franklin. Is the blame more on Franklin, or is it more on Drew Aller?
It's on Franklin because he hired an offensive coordinator who's not very good. And he's done this many times. He is Mr. Recycle Coordinators. I've said this in the past, but you go to Cheesecake Factory and you can get a good meal, but it's probably a meal that doesn't make a ton of sense. You might have an appetizer that's Mexican, another appetizer that's Asian, and then your entree is Italian. And it's like, all these foods taste good, but like homeboy said about my soup, I don't know if it really goes together. Like, it doesn't go together. And that is the Penn State offense to me, where it feels like Andy Kotelnicki just calls plays off of a menu instead of building a continuous game plan where he comes out. What he doesn't do is come out with a run package that builds into a play action, and then the run package has counters and reverses off of it, and then all of that builds into whatever their drop back game is for the week. It's literally like, okay, we were just in 11 personnel. Now I'm going to put 13 personnel on the field, and we're going to go under center, and then I'm going to back up out of that, and I'm actually going to direct snap it to the running back. But by the way, we've got 3 tight ends on the field, but they're all split out. So this is like a 10 personnel look, but it's 13 personnel. You're not helping anybody out doing that. It doesn't help your quarterback out. And the other part where he's not getting any help is their wide receivers are buns. They are trash. So it's a small offense. It's not an offense that's good at creating big plays. Their running backs have not delivered on the hype that they had off of the last couple of years with them. And Drew Aller's the one who's kind of getting beat up for it, but it's a genuinely bad offense.
I want to know what you think of this theory, Joshua, with the idea that I brought this out there earlier, that teams like Penn State are kind of in this window where they don't want to do the Nebraska Bo Pelini thing. One, there's a huge buyout, too, that also affects this. But, like, there's a little bit of, I think, the safety of James Franklin where he gets you 9 or 10 wins. You're competitive in these games that he loses. He got your team to the playoffs, and they had a nice run last year. But does it ever feel like he's going to get over the hump? I feel like Penn State's going to say, yeah, but we don't want to become Nebraska after Bo Pelini. Also, Ryan Day won last year, and he had a lot of question marks about big games. So, like, I feel like those two guys help someone like James Franklin keep their job longer.
I mean, we were kind of getting to that point in December as a fan base having debates before Ohio State just completely turned it on, right? But, like, you can point to Ryan Day, I think, is a very good example of this thing. Jim Harbaugh, and I know they cheated, but there's an example there of, like, didn't win big games, now all of a sudden national championship program. And then Kirby at Georgia was that guy as well. And he's still got the Alabama problem, but it was, like, oh, they just can't get over the hump. Like, he's a very good coach. They can't get over the hump. I don't know if it feels different with James Franklin or not. And I guess my thing about where I'm saying that is, like, maybe this is just what they are as a program, and they're not supposed to get over the hump, because Georgia, maybe it's not Ohio State and Michigan, but like those are two programs where you feel like they should be winning titles, right? Georgia, based off of their geography, you feel like if LSU can do it and Alabama's done it and Florida's done it, like Georgia, you should be winning titles. Maybe Penn State is just a team where it's supposed to be 10-2, 11-1. I look at Oregon and their logo matches their trophy case, right? Like, and people are wondering where the breakthrough comes with them. And maybe it's just one of those where it's like, you're going to push really hard, but like, can you actually do it? Whereas Ohio State, Michigan, two blue blood programs, the frustration really sets in when you're not winning the title because it's what you've done historically.
I think next week you go full on like Jordan breads. Just don't even try to make it like a dress sneaker. Just go full on with like whatever basketball sneaker you prefer.
I'm not even going to do that. I'm going Hoka's. Like, I'm going running shoes. Like, just, yes. You know what? I've got a pair of the Pete Carrolls. I might throw those on.
Ooh, they're monarchs.
And I think I'm wearing a red suit this coming weekend. Check us out. 7 o'clock on NBC and Peacock, but I think I'm wearing a red suit, and I might go with like a pair of the blue Pete Carrolls just to really get the point across.
So y'all have the Ohio State, Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll be checking you out this Saturday.
Perfect. There we go. We're looking forward to it, Joshua. We appreciate the time. We'll talk next week, all right?
All right, take care, guys.
There you go. NBC Sports, former Buckeye Joshua Perry on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline.